Welcome back to the A&E show. We're here with our NFL wrap-up special with our special in-studio guests, Drew Pearson and Randy White, of course, joined by Bubba and the Spin Doctor. We want to get back into just a little bit about the Cowboys situation, and one of the things that Randy had touched on, was on the defensive line. I mean, the Cowboys right now are predicted to be $31 million over the cap, so obviously some things are going to have to be adjusted. There's talk about Romo reworking his contract. I understand that DeMarcus has come out and said that he would rework his contract to lighten the load there. But they've got some key free agent situations that they're going to have to make some decisions on. Drew, you had brought up, Brian Waters, the guard that they had brought in that did a great job. Of course, he got hurt late in the season. Mm-hmm. Jason Hatcher, who really stepped up this year. And, of course, Anthony Spencer. I mean, he was out most of the year, but they need to make a decision there. And then even Ernie Sims, who I know he's kind of a journeyman linebacker, but, I mean, did a pretty decent job having to fill in with all those injuries that we had at the linebacker spot. I want to kind of get your thoughts on. There's two guys out there that are, if you look at the mock drafts, the Cowboys are drafting 17th. Timmy Jernigan from Florida State, who's a defensive tackle, and the Connie Early kid from Missouri, who's a defensive end. I think those two guys could certainly help us out. But going forward, what do you think the Cowboys can do to bring this cap down a little bit? I mean, what are they going to have to do? Are we seeing the last of Miles and some of the other guys we've gotten used to seeing around? Or
yeah, they got a real problem, and the problem is it's going to be a problem from here on out because they keep mortgaging the future. They keep paying guys out. That's the only way they can get past it. They got to restructure somebody. They got to cut somebody, and still, if you cut Miles, you're still going to take a cap hit. With him not being there. So, but it's not going to be as much if he is there, that type of thing. One thing Stephen Jones has been able to do is being able to maneuver that cap. But the problem with that is we're not getting any better by doing that. And so they got a real problem on their hands. What do you do with DeMarcus Ware? Do you extend him, give him more years and more guaranteed money? At this point, knowing what kind of season he had last year, knowing the injury problems that he had last season, and he still hasn't had a surgery at this point in the offseason. All those things that kept him out of games, you would think a surgery might correct something. Apparently rest hasn't done it. So anyway, they got a real problem, and that's why you extend guys like Scandrick in the middle of the season.
What was that?
I mean, it's like, come on. Everybody's scratching your head. You gave him extended him in the first place, and now you extend him again. But, sure, he had a good season, better than he's had in the past. But that's what I'm saying. They're getting tied up in certain players where they'll never get off this treadmill that they're on. And how do you bring in quality free agents if you don't have the money to spend on those quality free agents?
Yeah, they keep just pushing that money out, and they're not getting the players that that we could have the opportunities in these drafts to get because we don't have that money because we've stretched it out. With that said, the Cowboys, their defense, Randy. We're talking about the Seahawks. How tough they are, how quick they are, how fast they are, how they know how to tackle, how that front line, collapses that pocket for the quarterbacks. Right now, the Cowboys, their defense, if we keep the same guys, are they really tough enough to handle what they've got to handle next year?
Well, I think if they're 25 years old and they're healthy, yeah, I think that they could do the job. I'm a big believer. I watch all these teams, and I kind of study their defense. And you look at all the defenses and the teams that are successful on defense, they got a big guy in the middle. They got a big 340, 350-pound mean guy in there that can occupy two guys. And if I got a guy like Sean Lee at middle linebacker that'll run all over the field and make plays, I'm going to get a big bazooka in the middle that's going to occupy two guys and keep people off him so he don't get beat up all the time with people whacking him from every angle. But I'm a defensive tackle. I'm thinking like a defensive guy. But that's what I would get, and I would get some guys on that end that can put pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, like you were talking earlier, we need that rush. We don't have that right now.
You got to have a pass rush, and last year, like I said, Selvey did a good job sometimes. Some of the guys that they brought in, did a good job. Jason Hatcher had a excellent year. But I think, there's a couple pieces of that puzzle in there that they need to find. And if they can do that and plug them in, I think the rest of the defense, I don't care. There's not a defensive back in the league that if you don't put pressure on the quarterback can cover a wide receiver one-on-one. I just don't believe that with the game the way it is today.
Yeah, the way it is. Yeah.
You can't do it. I tell you what, if we're talking at Super Bowl, if Peyton Manning wouldn't have had a pass rush, then we'd have seen him picking Seattle's defense apart. And then that defense, we wouldn't be saying how great it is. Right. Some guys up front that make it all happen. I don't care what anybody says. You can have all the talent in the back of them, but if the guys up front don't do the job, it doesn't happen.
And you need that dirty mentality, too. That's one thing and I'm not saying dirty in the game, but I'm talking about the guys that'll roll up their sleeves, get in the mud, and truly take care of that line out there. We haven't had that for a while.
Well, you got to have attitude. I mean, you got to play football with an attitude. You got to play football with a chip on your shoulder.
You to be out there, you're gonna get killed.
You got to think you're the baddest guy ever walked the face of the earth when you step out on that football field, and you got to play like that. I mean, you're not out there to make friends.
The nicest guy in the world off the field. On the field, spitting nails.
That's
slaying people, man.
That's one of the biggest things about y'all's work ethics as well. And I know, Randy, they said you were one of the hardest working guys out there. Do you see that with the Cowboys now? And I know you still have friends in the business and can't go and share all the insight, but...
Well, no, I tell you what, the culture's changed. I mean, they can't practice hard. They don't practice with pads. You want to talk about the injuries and why they have injuries. I have my own opinion about that because if you don't practice full speed, when you get out there on the game and now all of a sudden you ask your body to go 110%, it short circuits.
Sure.
And if you're going to hit people, you got to get used to hitting people. That's true. You just can't go out there wearing shoulder pads or wearing T-shirt and shorts and tap dancing around and then go out there and whack somebody as hard as you can. Your body's got to be conditioned to be being hit. And I don't think it's just the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's the rules and the culture of the game and the way that the game has evolved. They're so worried about injuries and guys getting hurt. I bet if you look at it, they got as many guys getting hurt now as they did back when we played. Probably more guys getting hurt now.
I think there's
crazy. It's a type of injuries. And those injuries are conducive to not practicing, to not being up to speed once you hit that field. And
Drew, even at Drew's position, I remember, we would do like a full speed rush and then we'd stop, right? Mm-hmm. And we watch these receivers; they're fighting and scratching. I mean, our guys didn't want to lose; these guys wanted to catch the ball. I mean, we had a war going on in practice, and I think. In some of the commentary, I heard him talking about Seattle and the way Pete Carroll handles his practices. There's a competition every day for the position on that field. You got to have a competition on your field. You can't anoint somebody and say, okay, you're here. I played 14 years, 10 years, Coach Landry. He'd always threaten me with putting somebody else in there. I mean, it was just
here too.
Drew too. I mean, you always felt like you were on the edge. You never felt like, oh, I'm the man. I'm going to be here forever. No, we never had that feeling.
Sure.
I get I'm on that PR mailing list, so I get the media schedule, so I know when their practice schedule is. Hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes on the field at the most. We used to use that much time to warm up. 30 minutes before practice and at least 30 minutes after practice. But 2 hours to 2.5 hour practices during the week with shoulder pads and full equipment. So I think a lot of the problems with the injuries is the fact that they're not on that field. And it is remarkable how the NFL puts the onus on these coaches to coach these players up when all this transition is going on. Players here, look at the transaction list every Monday. You know, players coming in, injury reserve. We got to fill that up, and these coaches have to coach these players. And a lot of these players are not ready to play in the NFL. They're not NFL quality players, and they're not ready to play in the NFL. But that's what you got to pick from to supplement what you lost, because you can't go get that free agent sitting out there that's played 9-10 years in the league, will help you more so in this situation filling in, as opposed to this rookie from Bethune-Cookman College, that you're going to stick in there.
Okay, we're gonna take our final break right here on the A&E show and come back and wrap up our final segment with Randy White and Drew Pearson
Here.
right here on 1190 KFXR.